Welcome back again. I said I was going to do it. You know, for you guys it'll be a day will have passed, but for me it's pretty much straight after, because it's just the way that I film the videos to try and keep and make sure the stuff always coming out. We're going to take a look at this thing today. Now I do have a genuine ear tick on there, which is probably the way I'm going to run it. I'll probably put like a PEC 16 or something on there and a foregrip just to tart it up a little bit. Who knows? We'll soon see when I start messing and dressing with it. So you know how to strip the upper and lower, you know how to pull the bolt out, it's very straightforward. You can see the amount of grease and stuff in there. Let's take the rail off. Let's take the red dot off first, the holographic even. See if we can take the rail off. Do I have a big flat head? I presume this is how it comes apart. Nice and easy, he says. Rail slides off the front there. We have some very interesting looking parts. We can actually move the adjuster for the gas flow as you would have on the real one. You know, normal, if you've took apart a 416 before, you know how all these fake recoil rods normally go together. Is this going to be tight? I'm not too sure. Shall we try? I do have a Geisley tool, which should work. And then tap this with a hammer. Very good tool that. It's the legitimate Geisley rail tool. I'm just going to see if I can pull this apart a bit quicker by not taking all the gas block and such off. Hopefully save a little bit of time. There we go. Yes, we can. They're using a block between the barrel and the receiver, which is kind of, whoa, look at that. Okay, that just drops out. It's not very good, is it? It's not got a stop to stop it from going back too far. Which is interesting, this, because this is how, I mean, the fitment on that is very good. This is how I'm designing parts for the modular barrel system and such. So the first time I went to the normal like little brass collet that you use, and I mean, this feels like stainless. Do I have a magnet? Yeah, I might be mistaken. It feels slightly magnetic, which is strange. So a nice chunky piece of metal there. It's definitely a heavy metal, not aluminium or anything like that, but nice and easy to pull apart. The barrel comes out easy. Let's take the hop apart. I'm really not liking the hop, just how loose and flimsy it is. It's not a hard thing to fix now, is it? Let's see, I get this little O-ring off. I need something pokey. Just think with like the externals, you go that far and then you have like you're doing all the hard work, and then you have a hop unit that's just really flimsy. So you see the problem with this is usually on a Marui hop, this little arm here sticks out a little bit further. They've took a little bit of material out there, so it can overturn like that, which is kind of bad, because you could do that, your nub could get caught up in there. Now you can't adjust your hop. So not a fan of that at all. But it does feel, apart from that, it feels fairly well made. Let's take a look at the hot rubber. The hot rubber is just a normal mound. So that, I've actually got some black flamingo rubbers to try, so perhaps I'll put one of them in there. Titan would go in, but you'd have to modify it and take the wings off. You've got the upper here. got a little screw in there, which we'll have to remove to get the hop adjuster out, so we can take a look. Is it a 2mm? It's a 2mm. So we release this screw. Screw pops out. Is that held in by the pin? I think it is. Adjuster. Now be careful with the adjuster, because it'll have a little spring and detent on the side here, and you don't want that to go bye-bye. The hop adjuster itself, like that. It's dropped, in fact I can see it, it's good. That's super lucky. I always warn you about these springs and detents, and then I go and do the exact thing I've told you not to do. So do as I say, not as I do type thing. But you know, not a bad hop adjuster at all. Plenty of adjustment on there. The clicks were nice until I yeeted the stopper across the room. Yeah, quite a good part actually. I'm getting covered in grease here. And then you'll see the amount of schmutz, shall we call it, in there. So I'm going to jam a rag in and try to remove it. Let's get this in here. Wipe out all the excess. Can I use a tool? So yeah, thick transport grease like that, especially when you don't know what type of like lubricant it is, I find it always best just to remove it, so we're fairly nice and dry now. And that's how you strip it, apart from doing like the non-essential stuff for maintenance, like your forward assist. So it is a working forward assist. You just chop that pin out and then the forward assist will come out. You can take the dust cover off. You know, that's very self-explanatory. You've got this little steel insert piece here, which is held in by this pin, which I'm not going to mess with that either. To put this back together, if I'm going to be able to pick it up, you take the spring and the detent, you put them together, I usually do. Slide that in there, and while holding it like that, we're going to take a tool. I'm going to drag, basically dragging it in and then pushing it down so the spring sits on the little ledge, and then just keep going till we get the full spring in. Now, super important, hold that like your life depends on it. As soon as you've got it into the upper receiver, just be very careful, because if you sort of bang it or knock it, that thing will come loose. Slide it all the way to the front, put a bit of front pressure on the corner, pushing towards the front of the receiver corner here. And then we're going to take our screw and we're going to put that back together. Now, whenever you're taking your inner and outer barrel off on a Marui MWS or like for like gun, you always want to have the hop set all the way off, which will allow it to pull out. If you don't do that, sometimes you can damage it, or you can negate your hop up by it not working, especially with this one pivoting down as far as it does. That could very much be an issue. Now, before I put this back in, I'm just going to grab a flamingo. Right, I got sent a while ago now 2 flamingo rubbers, but they're not pink, they're actually black. A 50 and a 60, and these are made out of like conventional rubber compared to silicone. With silicone being a bit more grippy, I'd normally go to a 60 degree. However, because these are a little bit harder, they're a different material, I'm going to be going with the 50 and give that a go. So we'll pop this on to the barrel there. Let's put this on. Do I have a Titan nub anywhere handy? Don't think I do. So we'll just run it with the nub for now, and I'll have to change it out. So we line this back up like that, place this back on, put that little O-ring round to hold it together, make sure that seats in properly. While we've got that gripped together, it's got HK markings on the barrel on this, that's nice. I'm going to slide that into place so it can't move. We're going to put this upside down, slide the barrel nut up, we'll put the fake gas assembly back in, and then what I'm going to be doing, we need to make sure that that comes down because it needs to go under the arm in there, which you'll see as I put it in. It would help if I put the collet on, wouldn't it? Like that. So you'll see that arm has to go under and line this gas tube up. That would help, wouldn't it? Like that. And I'm trying to do this in a way that I can show you as I'm trying to do it. I need to push that down. While screwing that in, and all I'm doing is I'm pushing the arm of the hop up underneath, if the camera will focus, underneath the arm of the adjuster, and then screwing it up. Not screwing it up, but you know, screwing it in. I'm going to take my Geisley tool, and just like before, I'm just going to hold it in place, and I'm going to give it some taps like that, and that's absolutely fine for airsoft. You're not firing 5.56 through this thing. Everything's nice and straight. I would probably recommend replacing the hot rubber straight away in this thing because that doesn't feel great. It didn't feel very grippy on the rubber. They have got a little G on the back of the rubber there. So I'm not totally impressed with the hot rubber, so I, swap that out. Screw this in. And that is the upper back together. Got the charging handle we can place in there for the moment. And we've got the bolt. Now this is just a GM Evo bolt with their 3.5 version 3.5 nozzle and the twangy spring, and of course it has the HK logo on there compared to it being blank and having the two dots. Let's have a quick look inside this, shall we? Because I know you're probably going to go, well, why didn't you look in the bolt? Don't worry, bro, I gotcha. So we'll take the two screws off the top first. This is going to be a long video, but I think if you want more information on this particular rifle, hopefully you watch it through its entirety, because that really does help the channel. Watch time is key. We're just going to tip that up and the spring will drop out like that, and then we're going to push forward and it will allow us to pull that out. Once we've done that, we need to remove the back piece here, which I believe, is it held in by them two screws? I'm not too sure. I don't think so. I think those two screws either side hold this steel plate on the back here, which I imagine is to reduce wear, because all the bolts suffer from wear in this section from the hammer. So we'll lever this plastic piece up if we can. Can we get this thing out? Yeah. So all I'm doing is I'm putting the flathead just underneath this silver part, in between the plastic part and the bolt, and then we can pull that up, and look at that. It's bone dry and it's quite loose and flimsy. They've moved away from the spring-loaded front piece, which I kind of liked. It does kind of look like they've reinforced this maybe with a pin, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And then the way we get the rest of it out, we take a little screwdriver, we remove the screw on the top. This one has like a little, either an O-ring or a washer. I think it's an O-ring. And that will enable us to pull this assembly out. Can we push the valve out? Doesn't want to come out all the way, come on. There we go. Similar looking valve to the Maruis. And I did have some valves on the bench somewhere. Didn't chuck them away, did I? There we go. What size valves are these? Got the S for standard, got very low, we've got extra low, so we'll go with the very low, shall we? Give that a whirl. See if my valves fit the GM nozzles. That would be an interesting thing to find out. And they do, so I think the end pass that I'm working on will work fine with this as well. And where do we do that spring? So here we've got, they've put like a funky geometry on the spring, and it vibrates like an absolute MFer when it's in there. I mean, they've got a piece of tubing in there which isn't cut straight. It's like at an angle. So what we're going to do with this to try and minimise it, we're going to get some grease, and we're going to basically load. There's no downside to doing this at all. Just going to load a load of grease up onto the spring there. This is a Jaeger 1 grease. You can find it on the Jaeger Precision website, and they come with these very useful pen applicators. So we've greased that up to try and remove the noise. You can push this back in, and what you basically want to do is you want to look through this top hole onto something that's like a light background, like the bench, and see if I can show you how to do this. So you're looking through it, and then you see how it goes clear like that. That's how you know. You don't want to go too far, just when it opens. That's when you know it's lined up to push this screw in. Oh, you're really getting some extra content today. Screw that in. You don't want to over screw it so it sticks out the bottom. Just make it flush. And oh, look at that. Springy twang noise is gone. Perfect. Let's put this back in. Now before we do that, let's grease up this dry rubber seal. A little piston head thing there. I'm using the grease for this because I want it to stick. You could also use the Jaeger 1 oil. The great thing about the oil compared to the grease, they're the same compound, but the oil will seep behind O-rings and stuff like that, so that's what it's good for. Both will perform just as good as the other. There's just slightly different applications and uses for it. So we've lined up that little hole in the back piece, and then what you're going to want to do, put a tool in, pull it back so you expose the little shoulder, and then you can push your plastic piece back in, and that plastic piece is what holds your nozzle spring in place. Once you've done that, pull the nozzle out, take your top piece, slide it on top of the nozzle, pull it back into place, and then what you're going to do, sounds counterintuitive, but you're going to put this on and you're going to put your screws on first. Screw this into place. Screw this into place. This is the Evo bolt by GunsModify. You can get these normally for about £70–80 retail on the Hong Kong websites, which is extremely cheap for a complete bolt. And it's the best bolt apart from the Marui one you can get. A lot of people buy the Angry Gun ones and I tell them not to, and then they come back and they send me a message and they're like, God, you were right, I bought an Angry Gun bolt and it's rubbish. I do try to warn you. Again, I'm not saying it's like that for everybody, just in my experience, that's the results I have had. So we're just going to dab a little wand grease around the bolt here and on the plastic part because that sits inside the charging handle. One thing you should never do with any gas blowback, Marui, MWS, VFC, anything like that, is get one of these spray cans. I'll show you one here. It's down on the floor because I never use it. Silicone oil spray for your GBBR is absolute rubbish. Do not use it. It's a massive con. You see all these people, the misinformation on silicone oil out there is ridiculous. And you see them opening up the GBBRs and they're spraying it all in the... And yes, I have done it until I did the research and found out that as a lubricant it is rubbish for airsoft. If you want a bit more information on that, you can go watch Explosive Enterprises video. He delves into the why, and my eyes are opened and I don't use it anymore. Just noticed there's a plastic piece on the stock there. Ah, look at that for a little golden nugget. Pull those tabs off, you got HK trades on the stock. Naughty, naughty. We've got any more stickers I need to pull off. For the trigger pack, we might do that in the next video because I'm up to 22 minutes. So this is part 1 of the 416 breakdown. We've took this apart, we've replaced the hot rubber, we took all the bolt apart. I've put a valve in there to try because I was getting 1.2 joules highest on the normal valve. And that is now back together, ready to go. In the next video, we'll be taking a look at the lower, we'll be pulling it apart, see what's going on. Basically, all I want to do is just lift the trigger box out and just get a bit of like lubricant here and there. I'll do it in this video, but it's going to be super long. So thanks for tuning into part 1. As always, like, comment, subscribe down below. All your questions, I'll try and answer them best I can. If you haven't already, the Discord link is in the description below. Now, if you're unaware, there's currently product testing going on in the Discord, so you can go in there to get yourselves a free prototype Z plate, which is the new Z plate that I've designed. It's took inspiration from other designs. There's very few ways to do it. It's just a case of making it strong. They're very rough prototypes. All the information's in the Discord. So, you know, it's a free product that you can get on the website, but you have to understand there might be a couple of rough edges. I'm just letting it out there so people can test it, see what they think, bring the feedback. If we need to make any alterations, we will. If you do participate in the product testing and you do give useful feedback, you will receive not only a production version of the Z plate, you will also be considered for future product testing when we do stuff like suppressors, the modular barrel system, the hop unit for the MWS, and something very secretive I'm working on. So yeah, thanks very much. As always, from me and Bench, we'll see you in part 2.